Not sure what else to say. Other than that, MSF is an incredible organisation. I mean, you know, we don't get it right. They're not perfect. No one is. But as Nam said, invariably they're the first in. MSF are the only NGO who were working in Guinea, Liberia, Sierra Leone, sorry, and Mali. Okay, they were the first in. There are others coming in now. The need is huge out there. You know, someone was just saying earlier, well, isn't it great that, you know, other countries are going in? You know, Britain stepped in now, America stepped in. It is. Every intervention is welcome. Unfortunately, with most of those, it's building the structures. It's not putting the staff in, and that's where we need. You know, just seeing the film clip as I came in. Some international medical corps sending some stuff out. The NHS are allowing people to go out and volunteer, which is all good. How do we know where it's going? We don't know, unfortunately, because this outbreak is of a scale we've never encountered before. There is no empirical data to say this will happen or that might happen. We're almost waiting for a second wave. In Liberia at the moment, it's very quiet. It started to go quiet when I was in there in September. I went out again. No, where are we? Sorry, I lose the months. Beginning of November, with the Paris office to set up an ambulance service. Unfortunately, I mean, it's there and it's up and running, but in a way we were there too late. It's very difficult to know with the scale of it. So all I can say is thank you very much for your support. Thank you for coming and listening. Thank you for fundraising. Every penny is welcome and needed. The wonderful suits you see, and the goggles and the mask, that costs £60 every time I put one on. Okay. When the doctors go in, or the hygienists, so okay, even the body collection team, just taking it from a personal point of view, every time you go in, that is 6 people dressed up. So there's one body to collect, you have to go collecting. Okay, because you can't have bodies lying there. If you do one out in the collection, that's another 6 people. So it's £360 every time. You know, I hate putting it into money, but you know that's in a way what it comes down to as well. When you go to the crematorium and you unload, you have to dress up again. So the budgets are phenomenal. I haven't got background information on that, but I know it's huge, the needs. So thank you very much for the part you're playing in that. It's so welcome. I know James was earlier, he was asking me lots of questions. I said, you'll have to wait, otherwise you'll steal my thunder. So if there are any questions, I will try to answer as best I can. I hope that's given you a little bit of insight into what I've been doing. Yeah, thank you.
What sort of support did MSF give you on return from your mission trips?
I can't fault MSF in both their briefing and their debriefing and the support. They give, when we're out there, they have psychologists out there, and you know, I'm not one of these who rushes off to a therapist, but even just talking to someone is invaluable. You know, a lot of my colleagues said of me, of my position, I mean, it wasn't something I chose, don't get me wrong, I didn't know I was going out to be dealing with bodies. And that is actually what I ended up doing the whole time. Such was the need. But they're very helpful like that. They didn't sort of go targeting people and, we must talk to you and come for therapy. But they were there, very easy, very relaxed, very easy. And so when you come back, you're well debriefed. And they're regularly with you as well. So we have, for the incubation period, they also give us what they, partly incubation, but it's also a rest period. The issue is that if I was infected and I had symptoms, I have to live as close to Royal Free as I can, Facility Hospital, or the main hospital in London that can treat Ebola. So I can't, in my 21 days, I can, it's my risk, I can't go off on holiday. So they will regularly monitor you and check you to see if you're okay. But no, very good, very supportive.
Yeah, through a family friend, we know of someone who works for Samaritan's Purse.
Yeah.
And I know they work closely your organisation, and they were talking to us about this virus literally 6 to 9 months ago, telling us that it didn't seem like the outside world was really taking it seriously. And there's the suggestion that it only got the attention of government when care workers were contracting Ebola and coming back to the States or to this country or Europe to get cured. And you know, for a lot of people, we think, why does it have to go to that level? But putting that aside, do you really think it's a disease that can come back on this scale again? Because the last thing we want is you to be experiencing things that you've experienced and your colleagues. Because, you know, prompt action could have reduced significantly the numbers of people. And it's that coordination. Do you think that they've learnt from the experience so that if there is another other outbreak, there could be a better coordination so that, you know, they're a lot more proactive?
There's a lot of questions in there.
Yeah. Do your best.
I was just chatting with Yitun about this. Yes, this virus often goes in what they call waves. So you have the first wave. We just had the first wave in Liberia. I think Sierra Leone is just going through a second wave. I'm not an epidemiologist. I can only pick up from what I've heard on the ground, as it were. It's quiet in Liberia at the moment. My last week in September, it certainly went quiet. We had no community collections. Still had plenty in the wards. When I left Liberia 2 weeks ago, or on Saturday, 2 weeks ago, in L3, remember we had 160 and we were turning people away. There was 13, which is really welcome. You know, don't get me wrong. I just hope that spike doesn't come back, and that's what I think they're sort of not waiting for. They're prepared for. You know, they're in a real dilemma. You know, do they downsize? In Foya, which is in the north of Liberia, they are virtually closing. And there's one in Guinea that they have now gone 42 days. What they do is they double the incubation period from when their last case leaves, and then they close down. So Foya is closing, Kwaku, I think, or no, sorry, one in Guinea is closing. I forget which centre it is. So that's good news. But there is this risk of it taking off again. We've just had reports that there are some isolated cases in the bush in Liberia, which they're now going to investigate. And what they think is happening is because of the services or distrust in Monrovia, people are moving back to their home villages, or just moving anyway. The case in in Mali, was from a child. I think she was from Mali, but she'd been in Guinea. When I was there in September, people were going from Monrovia to Foya, because all the health centres in Monrovia were full. That's an 8-hour journey. You're taking an infected person that way. What happens? You stop on the way, you touch people. Yeah. So, and the resources just aren't there to even monitor it. So even if it did take off again, I mean, the little that I saw and I know of, you know, Liberian government, for all that they can, they're doing the best they can, but their resources are so limited. Unfortunately, and this is purely observation, this isn't a comment, you know, the Americans and the Brits, yeah, we're putting resources in, but we're not manning them.
Okay.
So obviously that hasn't, that's not a criticism, it's just an observation. You know, that's great to put 17 centres in, but if you haven't got the people, and you know, it's getting experienced people. Sorry, I'll be with you a minute.
Yeah.
You saw on the news recently, just this last week in Sierra Leone, Save the Children had an 80-bed centre, but they could only look after 12 or 3 patients because they felt they weren't properly equipped or experienced enough to take on more than that. And I totally understand the position, but you know, it's frustrating. It's just getting. I know, for example, Samaritan Purse, because I work with them in Cambodia and Philippines, and I know they pulled out. They were actually in the same camp with MSF in Monrovia, but they actually said, no, we can't do this. It's too big for us at the moment. So I respect that immensely.
Okay, a question from Brazil.
Sorry, I'm not from Brazil.
Oh, you're not Brazil?
No,
Oh, you're Brazil. So,
Liberia.
oh, Liberia. So well spotted. Yes, Liberia, please.
Sorry, I haven't got a question. I just want to tell you that I'm from Liberia.
Yes.
I want to say my sincere thanks to you for helping my people, for reaching out to me.
And there's a representative.
I really appreciate your help because it's very difficult to leave this party to go in that kind of crisis.
I can understand that.
And I really appreciate it. There's no word I can express it. Because if you see on television the sad, look at your people, you cannot help them. So it's a privilege to come tonight to be able to meet someone who's been there to be able to help people who are
Well, I'm going to do something.
help themselves.
You may not have the word, but I'm going to do something we weren't allowed to do in Liberia. We're not allowed to touch anyone. So we couldn't do this. It's weird after 5 weeks not touching or hugging, they're doing it.
And thanks to you now for organizing the program. Thank you so much for it.
One more question.
Can I just say on that point, I'm sorry, I didn't get your name, but I was so touched by the Liberian people. You know, one time I was in Monrovia. Okay, I did have my MSF jacket on. But this lady just totally unannounced just came up and said, thank you so much for being here. And I can also say without exception that every community visit I went on, whether the family were there or present or not, or the guy who had been just dumped and we didn't know his name, people came and said thank you. I consider it an absolute privilege to have been there. Do you know, when I've done, I'm new to this work. As I said, I used to work in this country. I'm now doing humanitarian work. I've never felt more fulfilled than when I'm doing this work. And I really enjoy, I had to be careful when I use that word, when I was doing the body collections. I enjoy working with communities and meeting people and just bringing a bit of comfort and dignity to them. And I don't mean that in a pompous way. I just am really humbled by people. So thank you for that.
Okay, one last question. Last question. What about table 3? What country are you? I noticed the thing has gone. What country is that? Sierra Leone. Any question from Sierra Leone? And what about Brazil? No? No more questions?
Well,
Okay, one from...
James raised his
Oh,
hand.
I didn't see him, so... Okay, you echo quickly.
Well, not so much as a question, but following the example that she's just set, to say thanks and appreciation for Sierra Leone. I'm a Sierra Leonean, and thanks for the work that you've done. We pray that this would cause this crisis to end faster.
Thank you. James, do you have a question? Okay, so thank you very, very much. I also add my thanks.
Thank you.
We've got something in common. We have 4 children each, so it's as if we planned it. I think that's the best number, actually.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, so it really is our pleasure to do this, and I think everybody here has come hoping that we're rooting for you. We know that people are putting their lives on the line, and that that protective gear is very, very important. So everything that we can do to raise money is what we are hoping we'll do to support the work that's going on. And as I said before, correct response, medical, sanitation, that sort of thing, not arms, not, that's not, I know they're building, but still, I have to put in that comment. It has to be the right response. Medical, the positive thing to help build up the country. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
every one of you, because I know everybody could have been somewhere else, but you've chosen to be here. And just by being here, you are actually supporting the event. I mean, there's not much point in having a fundraiser with nobody turning up. So I want you all to give yourselves a round of applause and to say thank you for coming. Right, so very soon we're going to do the raffle. I don't know where the Barclays ladies are, so I'm going out to see where they are. Yes, so that we can do it, because I know we're running out of time.
Okay. Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
Hello, I'm going to suggest, having heard what you've heard, if there are still some pennies or notes floating, buy the raffle tickets if you can. We really must grab at least £1,000.